It's Monday afternoon.
Heat that beat up. Heat that beat up. Ray Thomas on your radio. Yo, the world famous Ray Thomas variety show. Ray Thomas on your radio. Yo, the world famous Ray Thomas variety show. If you've been listening to the same old hand-me-down lame-old radio show, check my man Ray flow. There you go. Barks for this Bronx up in this North Cat, South Cat, where you at? It don't matter. Matter of fact, all 6 cities, towns, and districts is talking about Ray Thomas here on their lips like lipsticks. Lipsticks are clueless. How we do this smoothly? How we walk you through this cute? If you asking who this 2468, who do we appreciate? R-A-Y on your R-A-D-I-O. Yo, it's the Ray Thomas V-A-R-I-E-T-Y show. Ray Thomas on your radio. Yo, the world famous Ray Thomas variety show. Ray Thomas on your radio. Yo, the world famous Ray Thomas variety show.
These days never felt so great. I'm drawn to you and all things by design. I do for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do for you, for you. Every time I think about you, and every time you call my name, sometimes I feel it can't be true. But I knew it when we met that day. You're everything I ever dreamed of. You're the answer to the prayers I sent up. And I'm feeling like it's heaven on earth. Been wanting this forever. I know God put us together. These days never felt so great. I'm drawn to you and all things by design. I do for you. These days never felt so great. I'm drawn to you and all things by design. I do for you. When I think about that, or all of the love that you give, can't imagine how things would be if you weren't who you are. You're everything I ever dreamed of. You're the answer to the prayers I sent up. And I'm feeling like it's heaven on earth. Been wanting this forever. I know God put us together. These days never felt so great. I'm drawn to you and all things by design. I do for you. These days never felt so great. I'm drawn to you and all things by design. I do for you. You know what's so crazy? I do for you. Sad I never saw myself doing all of this. I do for you. I guess dreams do come true, huh? Yeah.
It's BroncardRadio.com. It's the RTVS Live, where every second of the day an artist is live.
B.O.B.
Yes, you hear the theme music, so you know what time it is. It is Monday afternoon, and that means the doctor is in the building. Making a house call. Yes, indeed. How you doing, Doc?
How you doing?
I mean, that's your theme music. You like it?
It is.
It surprised you, huh?
It did.
Like I forgot. I know your theme music. You like?
No,
go ahead, say. I don't know. You haven't been playing it for the past couple of weeks. You haven't been playing it, so I don't know what's going on.
You my pop-up bubble. You're all in the middle of my pop-up bubble.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay. Let's take care of some house rules real quick. He's back.
The intern Paul Murray.
Yes, indeed, and all the way over there in Lamunda.
The intern Jasmine Mills.
Yes, indeed. All right. Man, you far over there, Jasmine. I think I'm gonna have to flip the phone over or something.
Oh,
Man.
look at you with a little new.
No, don't be telling people what's new.
I see you,
You can't be giving away trade secrets, and you guys make sure you guys monitor the sound to make sure that the sound is doing what the sound is supposed to be doing. All right, I just got to make adjustments here real quick. All right, you looking around?
Okay,
it's my cake holder, girl. My cake holder. Yes, indeed. All right, so Monday afternoon, 1:24, by the way. 24 after the 1 o'clock hour. Once again, thanks to Larry Rivera for being a part of I Ignite, our hour number 1 segment, The Fire. And here's the calm in the storm. The doctors in the building
today, maybe not.
Oh no, taxes could be a good thing.
Finances today.
Before I even go to our guest, which actually I don't call him a guest because he's been here before, so he's coming back. Just go ahead and adjust your headphones so I don't have to ding you. Not yours. No, I'm talking to our guest, our company. That's why I'm not moving the camera, because he didn't tell you about left and right. Go ahead and just look at your headphones, and you'll see that they're probably on there incorrectly.
Okay, I did my best.
She had to call his name out
what
already.
What about the interns? Come on, guys.
Okay,
help me out.
Wow.
That's a ding for you, Paul, and a ding for you, Jasmine.
There you go. Okay.
Yes, indeed. And also a ding for you, Doc.
I was in the
I asked
restroom.
the question. I said, did you give him all the instructions?
Yeah, he did ask you that.
I don't know.
You did ask her, right?
I did.
Yeah.
They're on his head. I did my part.
And I could hear.
Okay. All right. So
can we take our dings back?
No.
So Reggie, let me give you 2 cents, Reggie. Okay. You put this on my taxes.
Okay.
Next time you come, on your headphones it says R and L.
I'm sorry, Reggie.
And we're not talking about the lead singer for the group Next. RL. R and L.
I got nothing.
RL. The lead singer of Next. You don't know the group Next? Are you serious? I know you're kidding. You're straight up lying right now.
I'm totally not.
You are a 90s girl that was partying back in the 90s.
I
You
was
know
doing
RL.
It up, but I don't know.
You know Next.
I might have blacked out in that moment. That was a whole bad girl movement.
I know she knows who Next is.
Yeah,
I know who Next is.
I don't. But
Really?
I
Too
don't.
Close? You never heard the song Too
She
Close?
wouldn't know by song.
Maybe
just
by
not
song.
group.
Yeah, I'm bad about names.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Gotcha.
Ooh-wee.
That's
I don't
that's
think
why
it
you
sounded
gonna pay
like
my
that.
fee for the ding I got. So
Okay, there you go.
I can't play the song because I don't want to go back into Facebook prison, man. So
Okay, well, let's just keep it moving.
yeah, but you should know
Praise the
Next.
Lord. Okay, I'll look it up.
You know, the 90s was your decade.
It really. Why are you trying to blast
I'm
me?
not. I'm not. I'm just saying. But anyways, okay. So RL stands for right and left.
Thanks for the
Yeah.
instruction.
So because then you'll hear things out of sync.
Okay.
Okay.
You okay? Never mind. I'm just gonna leave it alone. But 9 times out of 10, when you're a family member of the program and then you come back and you got it all wrong, you automatically, I don't even tell you, because you should have it together.
We'll know next time. We'll work it out.
That's almost like, make sure you're adding my taxes properly, brother.
Well, he's not a tax person, but we're just discussing taxes.
Oh,
I'm sweating. I'm hot.
Ding
It's hot
myself.
in here.
all right.
Okay.
So welcome to In Your Face and In Your Ear on your video screen, the one and only Dr. Patrice J. Carter.
Guys, Mondays are stressful. Okay, so
It's all
we
good.
start out with dings. We're in a deficit, a financial deficit. Everybody owes money.
not everybody. You took my debt on.
But we don't know what happened in the first episode. So I'm only taking on what happened in
We
the
got
last 5
reparations,
minutes.
girl.
So welcome to In Your Face and In Your Ear, and happy Monday to everyone that's listening. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with our financial guru. This is our quarterly financial update with our friend and family member, Isaac Reginald Allen, the owner of Stalwart Financial Planning. Welcome back.
Thanks. It's great to be back, and I'll have to remember this right and left next
Please
time.
do.
I'll take notes on
My
that.
apologies. I'm so
I'll-
sorry.
I think she set you up, man.
I did not. I would not do that. Reggie's one of my favorite people.
Okay. I've seen you set up your sister.
She's one of my favorites as well. However,
Exactly.
we got some
See how she
getting
does with
back to go.
favorites, right? Randall? I'm just saying.
Yeah, but we have history.
I'm just saying.
Glad to be part of the family, right?
Okay,
Be glad
alright.
to be part of the family.
That's it. That's hilarious. You're
Sure.
such a pot stirrer.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Soup's almost ready.
Hilarious. All right. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. So Reggie, Isaac, guys, I go back and forth, and he's explained that before, that Isaac is of course his formal name, but because we're family, I call him Reggie. So he said he will answer to both. So you may hear me use that interchangeably.
So what should we use?
So I'll let him tell you.
I'll answer it all. I'll answer it all. You can call me Isaac. You can call me Reggie. Reggie is what my family calls me, family and friends, but
Okay.
professionally they call me Isaac.
Yeah. So if you call him on the phone to do business, he's Isaac. If you catch him here in the studio, he's Reggie. But I wanted to have him back quarterly because we, the last time we were on together, we were talking about just the importance of financial planning. But now here, coming towards the end of the year, I think there's some things we both agree that people need to be thinking about and considering from a financial standpoint as we wrap up 2017. And then we saw yesterday in the news, all over the news, that now the Senate and the House are making some changes that are going to affect all of us as it relates to 2018 tax law changes and things of that nature. So definitely want to have an important conversation with you about that today.
Oh, most definitely.
Cool.
Glad
So
to.
let's talk about the end of year 2017. I can't believe that we're already in December.
Yeah,
this year
this year,
has
like,
gone by so fast. Like November was like a vapor.
two
you know?
newlyweds in the room too.
Yeah, you guys, congratulations and congratulations.
Hold on. Why are you looking all perplexed over
We
there?
got married.
Didn't you get married this year?
Oh yeah.
Bless his heart.
Wow.
Now
See?
we're gonna need to
Okay.
discuss some death tax.
Wow. Exactly.
If who's listening, we'll discuss the
Wow.
death tax law.
Man. All right.
So yeah, so Reggie, what do people need to be thinking about as they wrap up or come to the end of 2017 as it relates to personal and professional taxes
Yeah,
and
what
finances?
I always tell clients and tell people to look at is go ahead and pull out your last year's tax return, because a lot of people get them, they file them, they just throw them away. They just put them away, file them, say, wow, I'm done with them. But it's a great reference point to go back and look, dig those old tax returns out, last year's tax return, and then just kind of do a comparison, see where you are on track from where you were last year. Look at your pay stubs, your pay statements, and the other income you may have received, and see, is it similar to what you had last year? So if it's similar, if you didn't make any other changes, you're going to owe a similar amount in taxes. So you're going to either get a similar refund or you'll owe. So now's the time to start planning. So the first thing to do is really just to pull out those old tax returns, last year's tax return, and start comparing to see where you are.
Okay. And then what's another thing that you may see? So if you don't see similarities, then might that indicate that you need to maybe have another level of tax preparation, or what would that indicate if you see major differences?
Well, usually if it's major differences, that means that either maybe something dramatic happened in your life. It could be something that maybe you were unemployed at some time during the year or didn't receive some benefits, and then now you need to start thinking about planning and maybe looking at in more detail, maybe even going out and asking someone to help with the tax preparation. Now's a good time of the year to do that. The other thing that can be good is that, hey, you made a lot more money, or could be a change in you got married, right? You could have gotten married. So you were filing single before, now you're filing married. There's a little adjustments and little things you have to do. So that may be require a little different tax planning because your situation did change in the last year.
So let's assume that the person made more money and you being a certified financial planner, what should they do with that excess? What are some things that we should consider doing if we find out that we did make more money and now we need to lower our tax liability so that we don't end up owing money?
Well, if you need to lower your tax liability, or even if you're out there and usually if you're the things that you can do to lower, the first thing I always say is like a traditional IRA. If you make a contribution to a traditional IRA, that's something you can do this year to lower your income. Also, if you're in a situation where you can make 401k contributions, go ahead and make those 401k contributions here in 2017 and not let them slip over into 2018. Make them now, and that will lower your income. The other thing to start looking about is like donations. Donations. Now, this is more so if you itemize. So this means you had to file the Schedule A when you're looking at your tax return. And what I always tell people, go clean out that closet. You know, go clean out the closet. There's probably things you can give away, donate. Think about charities, universities, or some other charity that you may want to give to. Go ahead, make that donation. Make that donation this year. And specifically, most people that itemize, this year is very important. We'll talk about it a little later when we talk about the changes. If you're going to make that charitable contribution, 2017 may be one of the last years that people who make a charitable contribution will be able to actually get a tax deduction for that charitable contribution. So that's one of the changes that's going to be kind of come into effect.
Well, so what would that mean for 501c3s who were established just so that they could begin to be able to give people receipts for writing off those taxes? So what would that look like going forward, both for people that donate and for those particular agencies, just from a general standpoint?
Just from a general standpoint, this is my opinion of the impact of that, is that for people who want to make a contribution to it, like sometimes like even a church, you say, hey, I'm going to make my tithes, I'm going to make my contribution. You're going to make that anyway. But some people say, I'm going to make this contribution because I'm going to get a tax deduction.
Right.
And for those people who are no longer getting a tax deduction, they may change. But for the laws for is given the receipts and everything for the 501(c)(3)s, it's going to be the same. But it's the question in someone's heart whether they want to make the contribution. Like one of the things, just to give an example, I'm a member of the Wolfpack Club. And so if you're a member of the Wolfpack Club, you get a charitable donation for a part of that contribution for being a member of the Wolfpack Club. Maybe that'll go away from me. I won't get that. So maybe do I want to be at a certain level in the Wolfpack Club?
Are you a
maybe
true
not.
Wolfie now?
Maybe not. Maybe not. You know, don't tell them that you're loud right now. But
Sorry,
maybe,
NC State.
maybe not. But that's going to change, I think, how people want to make those contributions. Very much so.
Well, you mentioned something I think is really important when you talked about the 401k because, you know, of course, here on the university, I think there's either 401k, 403b.
403b, yes.
And so what happens, I think about when I worked corporately in the past, how a lot of employees would not donate to the 401k, 403b, and they were matched. So do you have any, I think that's just maybe an aside that we could talk about just for those in the listening audience that have a company they work for that do either offer a 401k, 403b, or have a matching plan. Why should they consider donating, and is it too late to do it now for this year? What's the latest they can donate and still receive this year's tax benefit?
The latest they can do it is whenever their last pay check is. And so it may deal with kind of their administration or their HR or payroll that says, when can you have to make the change? Because a lot of times you can go and make a change and say, how much do you want to donate? And you can look at the limit and say, hey, I want to make all $18,000. Now, maybe you don't have a paycheck that can support that for that last one, but you can go ahead and make that change, say, hey, I want to make it a one-time change for the end of the year, or the end of for December, and then change it again in January when it comes along. That way you can make something to reduce your income in this year. So that's the big thing, is just saying, can I reduce the income in this year? And that's a big difference. And the other thing, for people who are self-employed or who own their own business, they can open up a 401k for their business. They can open, if you're a sole business owner, you can open up a solo 401k. You can also open up SEP IRAs. There's lots of options that you can take and open up to reduce your tax benefit or the tax payment that you have to do for 2017. Some of the ones that can allow you to go into 2018, that might be a little complicated, but the 401k individual contribution definitely has to be made in 2017.
Okay.
Doc, you over there taking notes.
I am.
I'm over here multitasking. and I'm missing a lot of the juicy stuff. So, man.
You're gonna have to listen to the video.
Yeah, no. Oh, by the way, folks, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to In Your Face and In Your Ear with Dr. Patrice J. Carter and our guest Reggie. We call him Isaac.
He's Isaac when we call him Reggie.
That's just like left and right. Left
Hold on, look at Reggie
right.
get some get
Because
back.
if you don't call him Reggie, then your levels are going to be off.
Oh, yeah. Way to go, Reggie.
You might get the bootleg advice if you don't call him.
You know what? I'm looking at you, Reggie. Reggie was one of those guys back in the day that he would just get you like those. You know, one of those people that would just snap on you, but with a straight face, and you didn't even know he snapped on you.
Yeah, he's a straight man.
He just, did Reggie just call me a idiot? He sure did, but he was just so nice about how he said it.
That's like left.
All right, Reggie, I see how this is working.
Yeah, he's a straight guy.
Okay,
I
yeah.
love him. Y'all leave my family member alone.
Yeah, whatever, Patrice.
So
Okay, but yeah.
we need to give shout out to?
Yeah,
Anybody?
definitely. A lot of
Okay.
people, and I'm hoping that the interns will do their jobs and just acknowledge those folks that are joining us on the social media platform, being that I am out of Facebook prison.
Right.
And so we're actually broadcasting on my platform.
Welcome back.
And you didn't want to share it because what's wrong with your phone? Yes, I'm putting you on Front Street. Go
So
ahead.
it's a Samsung, and all the space is literally gone. So I have to take apps off and add apps on. Just pray for me.
Why don't you get can you put an SD card in it?
Oh,
This
Lord.
one. You mean just change it out?
Just get a bigger one. And
Sounds like she has a burner phone. Is it a burner phone?
Why are you all up in my business?
You know you are a doctor. You know you write prescriptions.
No,
I'm
I
just
don't. I'm a
okay.
business doctor. I'm not a medical doctor.
Okay, all right.
Back to the shout outs.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that the folks on your platform know that you're
I
on.
had
and
Dalton
that,
share it. So
Okay.
he's my admin, so I
All
asked
right.
him to share it.
Well, thank you, Dalton. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that, man.
Love you, buddy.
Yeah, all right.
Appreciate you.
Slick Reggie over there. All right, Slick Reggie. That's what I'm gonna call you from now on. Every
Do
time I
not-
see you.
Don't call me.
Nah,
That's
don't
not a
call
good
me
term. That's not a good term. That's not a good
Especially
term.
not when you're talking finances. No.
Slick Reggie. That's not a good
See how
term.
quick you defended that one,
It
huh?
could be a pimp.
All
That
right.
sounds like Lenny from Good
Okay.
Times. Yeah, no, we're not doing it.
Man down, man down.
my name is Lynn.
Hey, no, it's Red J.
No.
Okay.
I agree with Reggie.
All right, okay, I take that back then. I'm sorry. My apologies, man. Let me slow the music down a little bit so I can calm myself. Back to you, Doc. Because
I thought we
I
were
just
doing
feel
shout-outs.
no, because whenever we talk about taxes, man, you always bring great information. So I
is
want to make sure that. But I'm over here multitasking because the interns aren't doing their jobs. I'm just calling y'all out. I'm just saying, if I have to do everything,
Wait, what?
look, Jasmine's like, wait, what? Huh? And Paul's like, Paul's like, man, I don't care. I'm over here every now and then.
I'm so confused.
All right, but anyways, I just want to be able to hear the information, but I'm over here multitasking and I'm
How are you
typing in.
multitasking this
He is. Well, so what we'll
What do you
do,
mean,
right,
how
is
am
for
I?
those that are
Lord.
don't talk to the man in the corner.
Okay.
So what we'll do, we'll just recap real quick, and then
Yes.
if there's some people that have some comments, and of course we'll address those. But one of the things that just to recap 2017, because I want to go into 2018, that Reggie was sharing is that this is a good time to pull out last year's tax returns and to look and find, and if I get anything wrong, just let me know, but look
Certainly.
and make sure that if you had changes, then you need to address those changes and know that that's something that you need to focus on going forward. But if your tax return and what you earned looks similar to last year, then you're either going to owe this generally the same amount, or you're going to get the same amount back in your return. And he was saying that if you were single throughout a portion of the year, but then you got married and now married filing joint, that would bring about some changes. But it also coming up on the end of the year, it's not too late to make contributions to your 401k or your 403b, because you can still claim that, but you do have to be sure that you get that taken care of quickly, but that you can utilize your last W-2, your last statement, your last what do you call it?
Pay
Earnings
period.
statement, pay statement, pay period. And so it's not too late to do that. And so the reason that you want to look at doing that, putting money into your 401k or 403b, so that you can decrease your tax liability. Because if you made a lot of money you end up earning, if you take that money and you either donate it, because we talked about charitable causes, or you put it into a tax shelter like an IRA or a 401k, 403b, that's less money that you will have to pay or owe taxes on. So that would reduce that liability.
See, that's that part that I missed.
Yeah.
That's where it was getting juicy. I was
Yeah,
like,
and then a lot of people don't invest, that are employees don't invest in their 401k, 403b, but it's worth it, period. But it's really worth it if you have an employer that matches a certain percentage.
Yeah, most definitely. And then the one point that I can't stress enough, a lot of people who are especially self-employed,
Yes,
we got a lot of
thank you.
self-employed entrepreneurs out there. You can still have retirement plans. You can have a great 401k. And if you don't want to do that, you can do something like a SEP IRA or a simple employee pension IRA, and then that will allow you to have, retirement contributions that you make. But a lot of the people who are entrepreneurs out there, they aren't saving anything towards retirement. And it's easy to do. It's set up and it's really cheap.
And I just want those that are listening, you can work outside of state lines, so you're not bound by state lines. Is that correct? As a certified financial planner? And so I bring that up because one of the things that Dalton and I met with Reggie, we haven't done our move yet, but we will before December 31st, is to set up a step, because when we became self-employed 10 years ago, we left our full-time jobs where we did have 401ks, we had 403bs, and we cleaned those out. So then as entrepreneurs, at some point we were sitting down talking and wondering, is it A, too late, B, is there an opportunity or an option as an entrepreneur to build that wealth again? And we met with Reggie, met with Isaac, and he assured us that it's not too late. It's never too late to start saving, and this is the funding vehicle that you can use to do that. So I really want to encourage anyone listening that you do reach out to Isaac, because he's not a tax person. He is a certified financial planner, so he can help you with your financial planning from birth to death. Is that correct? The entire family. So from the time they have a baby until the time the person.
I like to call it
ground.
holistic planning. Holistic planning.
Before you pick the bucket.
But mine, I call it holistic.
I'm sorry.
Holistic, trying to look
You
at
say it
the
better.
big
Like from
picture.
birth to death, I'm gonna need you to pay fully though before you die.
You need to pay your bill before you go in the ground.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Reggie.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Okay, holistic financial planning. Okay.
Yolanda Barnes is watching with us, and she has a question. My question is, with all that's going on in D.C. concerning taxes, what do I need to be concerned about or looking for?
So thank you for asking that, because that's a great segue into our conversation. So do you want to take that, or?
Certainly.
Okay.
Like there's several changes that are going out there. One of the things we kind of touched on a little bit earlier is with for contributions. One of the things that's changed is that your standard deduction that you get for singles, it was around $6,000. For a married couple, it was around $12,000. They're going to raise that to $24,000 for couples and $12,000 for individuals. So what that means is that, and on top of that, they're going to take away no state taxes won't count towards itemizing. Your mortgage interest will not count towards itemizing. So now a lot of people will not be able to get more than the $12,000 or $24,000 to be able to itemize. So all the deductions that they were getting before for itemization, like charitable contributions to your church or other charities that you want, also property taxes aren't going to be there. So they're no longer going to be able to itemize. So that's one of the big things to kind of look to see, okay, if I can no longer itemize, where am I going to really be able to get deductions? Just take the standard deduction and maybe nothing. So for a lot of people who are making, say, a couple who are making $100,000, just kind of think of this: you make $100,000, you get 20. To get itemized, you got to have more than $24,000 in deductions. If you don't get property tax, you don't get mortgage interest, you don't get state interest, that means you've got to make a charitable contribution of more than $24,000 to be able to get that deduction. That's probably not going to happen if you're making $100,000, you're supporting a family. That's a big, big contribution. So that's where I see people where those contributions are going to change.
So can you just define standard deductions for people that may not have that vernacular and may not understand? What does that mean from a tax standpoint for singles and marrieds when you say the $12,000 and $24,000 and now not being able to itemize?
Okay, so standard deduction, I think that's a good question. Standard deduction, what the government says, hey, you have to pay taxes on all sources of income, legitimate and illegitimate sources of income.
So for all of you getting paid under the table.
You're still supposed to, that's how they got Al Capone, you know, that's how you're still supposed to pay taxes on all sources of income. So you add all your sources of income, and then you take away the standard deduction, which was $12,000 for couples, and now going to $24,000. And then when you take that away, that's your taxable income, and then you pay tax on that taxable income. So when you have the different taxable brackets, tax income brackets, whether you're in the 12%, 15, 25, and so on, that taxable income is really what's taxed. It's not your total gross, it's that taxable income, what would become after the standard deduction.
Okay, so if I made $60,000 a year, then that standard deduction for a married couple, I would subtract $24,000 and I would be left with my taxable income.
Correct.
And that's why it's important to then go and pay into those 401ks, 403bs, because that further reduces that number, right? So that we end up either not owing or getting money back. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you can lower your taxable income, because if you aren't going to be able to itemize, you aren't going to be able to lower your taxes through that fashion. So lowering your income, what's that off of what we call the front sheet of the 1040, that's how you're going to really be able to maximize your tax thing.
So if you're someone that's making $40,000 and you're married,
yes,
and obviously you're going to take $24,000 off of that, right?
Correct.
Okay,
your combined income.
No, hold on, wait a minute.
Okay.
Pause for a second.
Quiet.
Yeah.
Now this is for 2018. 2018.
I understand. Okay. I'm just saying I'm trying to do a low end couple. So let's say, for instance, the combined income, because let's say on average they're both working at McDonald's or whatever, and they probably make $20,000 a year. So it's a total of 40, and you're married. So you're going to cut that in half. Well, a little more than half.
Yes.
Because that's $24,000, and so your taxable income is going to be is it 16? Am I at 16?
Yeah.
Did I do that math right? $16,000. So that's what you're going to be taxed on.
Right. And so that will put you in the 15% tax bracket. So if you want to do, you take 15% of that, and that's your federal income tax. And now you all still have to pay state, but that will be your federal.
So my question is, what is the number for exemptions? Because I remember
there's no exemptions.
No, I mean for each person that you claim, they're not doing the.
No. That's right. Exemptions are going away in 2018.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So you can't claim your kids anymore.
Well, because you used to lose. I think it used to be $3,000 per person that you claim. So they're taking that away.
Yeah, because they're raising this standard deduction, and so there's and one of the big things that's still going on with that is that they have what was passed in the House, and then House of Representatives what was passed in the Senate. So they still have to reconcile those two bills together because there's still a lot of differences between the two. But one of the things, for instance, for mortgage interest, if you get mortgage interest, you could do it on $1 million loan from the Senate plan, but it's a $500,000 loan. It's the max that you can get in the House plan. So they still got to go and reconcile those differences. There's several other things that are changing. One of the big things that I see is for people who have stock and stock investments, is that when they go to sell their stock, this is one of the things you can still do for 2017, is to go through and we do what we call loss harvesting. If you have some losses, we want to sell those, get out of them, wait a while, and then get back in maybe something different. So we don't just kind of keep carrying that loss. But in 2017 and prior, we could pick which purchase of that stock. If we purchase that stock, say over a lot of people who are working for a company, then be buying that company every month for 20 years. And so they got many different tranches, as we want to call them, of investments. And then they could go and cherry pick the ones that they want to sell and which ones they want to keep. Going forward, they can only do what they call first in, first out. The first ones they purchase has to be the first ones they sell, or they have to donate. So if that's the case, that means usually that may be something you bought 20 years ago. That should have been a great appreciation. Now you have to pay 15% of the gain on that. So that's going to be one of the way they make up, is not allowing people to cherry pick, but forcing them to maybe sell the ones that are the most expensive, the most.
These changes that you're talking about, who's it actually benefiting? Because I'm listening right here, and I'm not feeling benefited.
Is that a loaded question for you?
I mean, I can offer my opinion. My opinion is that it's for a lot of the changes were really for probably that upper even above maybe
the wealthy,
even above the 1%, even above the 1%. Because if you think one of the things that you had the estate tax. The estate tax was previously it was people who had really more than $6 million, or a couple who had more than $12 million. Now they're doing away with that. So who do you think? That's got to be a couple that has more than $12 million. And
so you're talking about billionaires at this point.
So that's future. So now they're going to go through and make changes there. And then when they go and they phase away the state tax and the property tax, one of the things, if you kind of get more complicated in the tax law, is that they had this thing called alternative minimum tax, AMT. And with AMT, you have what they call preferences. So those wealthy people weren't getting a deduction for mortgage interest. They weren't getting a deduction for state income taxes, or property taxes. They weren't doing it. So it's not changing anything for them. So they're still going to get the same thing, and they're going to get a preference or a better way to calculate their taxes. So I think for them, it's going to be a major tax break. So I think for the people making over $100,000, they will see some. People who are making $50,000, they're going to maybe see a break now, but some of those things are actually as low as some of those will phase out over time, and so they will actually see their taxes increase
Cue the burner
slightly.
phone.
Wow, exactly.
So the earned income credit, have they kicked that around as far as whether or not it's still going to stay in place, I guess would be the question.
They do have some income credits that are out there that they're kicking around. That's going to be one of the big things they're going to have to resolve, whether it's going to stay or it's going to go between the House and the Senate bills. It'll be interesting to see how they take and reconcile that. One of the other things that's really big between those bills is that the Senate bill keeps essentially 7 tax brackets, and whereas the House bill, you only have 4 tax brackets. Now that's going to be a big change to put people in just into 4 brackets to kind of move down. And one of the things that's also different, they will get rid of the mandate for having insurance. You will no longer have the insurance mandate.
So you won't have to have the health care insurance, nor will you be penalized for not having it.
What about car insurance?
If it passes.
They ain't touching that one, huh? Man, we still have to have that, huh?
You got to talk to Roy Cooper about that.
But
That's regulated by the state.
Man.
But I do want to speak from a layperson standpoint, though, what you were just speaking about as related to the healthcare piece, but more importantly, the tax brackets, because you said the House, and if you guys are not familiar with what we're talking about, if you go to CNN.com or any of the, what news source would you recommend? What do you watch as it relates to finances? You're probably looking
I watch CNBC.
CNBC. So if you go to CNBC or CNN.com, you'll see a rundown of all the proposed tax changes and that are happening right now at the federal level, and there's a Senate proposal and a House proposal, and so you'll see those either side by side or one below the other of what's being proposed, but it has not yet passed, correct?
That's correct.
And so, do you know when they're due to vote on it?
Well, they got to reconcile. They'll go to committee,
Mm-hmm.
and if you remember, I'm just a bill. And
Yeah.
It's only a bill.
Yes,
They got to go to committee, right?
Man.
They got to go to committee, and they got to reconcile those. And then at that point, they'll be able to vote on the reconciled bill. Then it'll be sent over to the president to sign at that point in time.
But we're looking at 20-some days before the end of the year, right? Before this goes into
We're looking, because we're thinking that it's going to take place January 1st, 2018. So even if they don't get it all done by January 1st, they'll still just make it retroactive to January 1st, 2018. So we think a lot of these changes are going to take place. And so if you're going to make one of the things with the whole rule with first in, first out, you can cherry pick that. I always recommend clients, they look at their mutual funds, look at their stock. This is a good way to make a charitable contribution. You could always donate those one with the most gain, and you could cherry pick them. You can't cherry pick them in 2018. So if you're going to make a contribution that you want to make by using stock or mutual fund, do it in 2017. That's the big thing for the clients I work with. We're going to look at it and say, hey, this is something we want to do in 2017. The other thing that's just going, and we talked about life changes, is that people who are going to maybe divorce, unfortunately going through divorce, alimony, if you paid alimony, you could deduct it. Looks like on the bills going in 2018, you will no longer be able to deduct alimony if you pay it. So you maybe want to work with your attorney to try to make some type of settlement that will maybe try to get that grandfather. They say you can grandfather the ones that were done 2017 and earlier. They're going to take, but so that might be something you want to.
What about child support?
It's never been taxable.
That's never been taxable, so
Okay.
that's no
Never
different.
been.
And so if you
Okay.
receive alimony, it's still going to be the same.
Okay.
It won't be a change.
So I got a quick question too, because being that you're here at the university at HBCU, and a lot of these students, once they leave here, they'll be in debt with these student loans and things of that nature. Is there anything in place, like let's say for instance you're someone like myself and you've been paying on your student loan for like the past 20, 30 years. Is there any way of getting out of that where what the initial amount that you owed, because mine's is like ballooned up because of interest over the years?
There's no way. It's going to turn into, because before 2017 and forward, you could get a tax deduction for student loan interest. Well, that's one of the changes in 2018 is that you will no longer be able to deduct student loan interest. So it's going to be very much in the fashion of credit card debt. You will not be able to, so it's going to be try to reduce that as quick as possible, or get to some way where they will eliminate it. Maybe there's some jobs and occupations you can do to have that eliminated. But right now, the way we're well, even with the consolidation, you still have the interest. You can do the consolidation at least to go to and try to reduce the interest rate, but you will not be able to
Reduce the debt amount.
The debt amount, or deduct that interest. That's the one before. Is depending on your income level, you were getting the interest. You could at least deduct that from your income, but going forward, that will not be the case.
I wanted you to clarify when you were speaking about the fact that the Senate, I think you said, had 5 tax brackets and the House was looking at 4. Why is that important from a layperson standpoint? Why is that important to the everyday man or woman, working man or woman, or business owner? When you talk about the tax brackets, what does that mean for us?
Well, for the layperson, as we talked to and we referenced earlier, we talked about taxable income. It's not, you don't pay taxes on all the income you make. You pay it on the taxable amount, and so the tax brackets apply. So if you have 7 tax brackets and the top tax bracket is 30-some%, that's going to determine how you calculate it. So looking at those two bills would kind of tell you which ones they are. So with the House bill, you're talking about a tax bracket of maybe 33% as being the top one, whereas with the other it's like 39%. So there's still a 6% for those people who are making $400,000 and more. So again, it's a big tax break for them.
But for someone who's making, when Ray talked about sort of the working class making the 40,000 combined or 20,000 single, that might cause them to go into a higher tax bracket, presumably if they're compressed. Is that accurate?
That is very accurate, because the lowest tax bracket right now is 10%. In the House, the lowest tax bracket is 12%. So they would see a 2% increase, but they will get some from the deduction that they get. The standard deduction will allow them some, but on their taxable income there will be actually a 2% increase.
So ultimately that person would be taking home less pay, or possibly
their pay, because their pay is independent of the pay is independent. It's just what they have to owe on taxes, and you can just keep getting paid, and then it's the tax that you owe at the end of the year.
What's the purposes of these taxes, man? I'm speaking like the average person that doesn't really know. So why are we paying taxes?
Well, you pay taxes to fund services that you don't have and can't afford as an individual. Whereas local, you got your police, you got your fire department. Federally, you've got the military, you've got social services that you have where you've got Social Security. You also have roads and other things that you have to pay for. And there's other things like even with FEMA, when we had the hurricane here last year, you got to have who's going to fund FEMA to be able to have us to be able to have protections out there. And those are the things that taxes are paid for. And sometimes you got to think, can it be better done by a private sector, or is it best done by the government? And that's where there's always a debate, which one and how the size and what's the best way to do it. I think you have to have services because you just can't afford those individually. Some people can do that. The other thing, getting back to, is medical expenses. Medical expenses will not be something that you will be able to itemize going forward. So if you got a medical procedure and you're going to be able to take a deduction in 2017, it'll be just like where before in the past we were talking about creating a fat year where we have deductions because they had something and trying to get above that amount.
Man, so it sounds like we're going backwards.
Well, that's all an opinion, right? So that's all an opinion. I mean, you weigh two sides. Some people say, hey, you should go to just a flat tax. Everybody should just be taxed evenly. In the United States, what we have is known as a progressive tax. So it says the more you make, the higher percentage tax you should pay. And that's what, some people, that's the battle. Whether some people want to say, hey, just make it a flat tax. Is that fair? Or do you need to have a progressive? So people who make more, who are more privileged, should be able to carry more of the
burden. But that's if you're progressing.
Well, not only that, just from, speaking, just what comes up for me when you say that is progressively they may pay more taxes, but then they get more benefits to really offset those taxes through other means based on some of the things that we talked about today. Is that correct? From a legitimate legal standpoint?
In a legitimate standpoint, and most people who make more, they can go out and get more services and be able to pay for someone to be able to look at their taxes and to be able to say, okay, here are the things that we want to do to take advantage of. It may be something as simple as like oil and gas. You go into oil and gas, you can get it's a great deduction because you put it in and you can say all the equipment, everything we do the first year is going to be all equipment. So you wipe out all the income you get from that. And you may even wipe out more than what you really get out because you aren't going to pump any oil the first year if you go out or natural gas. And so it's a great deduction for people who have the means to be able to go out and do that. But to be able to get that, you have to be of a certain affluent class to be able to go out and do that. So it's definitely advantages for being out there, and that's, to me, it's unfair. I think a progressive plan is a better one for paying taxes.
Yeah, if you're progressing.
So, I have a question about that, but there are some other things that you wanted to share, and I want to make sure that we get to the things that you felt were important for us to hear.
Well, one of the other things that's big out there is going to be, this corporate tax rate. That's one of the big differences. They want to lower the corporate tax rate, and they talk about, maybe 15, 20% for corporations. And so if someone makes money as a corporation, you may be in a better tax bracket right? Instead of the 33%, if a corporation is only taxed at 20%, wow. That'd be a great planning strategy, right? Now, the question, you have a lot of people who are entrepreneurs out there that may be S-Corps.
Right.
Now, they're doing that tax advantage strategy really for the C-Corp, the full corporation, because usually the S-Corp is a pass-through. It passes through back to the individual. So there may be some benefits there, but now the question will be, everyone's going to say, hey, should I become a full C corporation? Should I become, because it's going to make me a more advantaged tax-wise. And what I'm looking at and thinking right now is that to do that, you're really going to have to go in and probably get a professional look at it and look at your revenue and what your projections and expenses are going to be for probably like a 10-year period to see if it's going to be advantageous for you to move, because it have to be calculated differently. Do 10 years and then liquidate after 10 years to see is it really going to be advantageous for you to move. But there's going to be a lot of people who say, hey, that's a smart thing to do. And it may be, but it may not.
What about sole proprietors?
Sole proprietors, they can become a full C corporation. I mean, they just have to have a board, meetings, there's more expense. They have to file a separate tax return for that. But depending on the revenue that they're making, it may be advantageous for them to become a full C corporation.
No, I mean, I should have been more specific. So, I mean, just based on what we're talking about, just with all the tax changes and all the things that are being proposed and people that are sole proprietors, is there, what are some things they may need to consider, if anything, going forward?
Well, a sole proprietor, the biggest thing probably is just looking at their expenses for what they want to do for 2017. I will go back and look. You have a provision called 179 where you can buy an expense or equipment, and you can, instead of going out and amortizing or over a period of time, depreciate over several years, you can take and depreciate it all in 1 year in this year. So it may be an expense that you want to go out and buy that equipment and allow it to go ahead and take that expense off. And that would be a great way to reduce your taxes in this year. But talk to a planning professional, a tax professional, to see if it's to your advantage. And people who have gone out there who have had someone else prepare their taxes, always encourage them, go back into them. Part of for the money they should be paying is for that tax planning. And say, hey, what should I do? How should I do it? Go back and engage them.
I think that's a good point that you make, because one of the things I think sometimes people don't think about, and this is my question to you, my last question, is about wealth when they're in a, like, say, making a salary that is not in a wealth category. So you talk about the people that work in the mom and pop shops or own the mom and pop work at McDonald's, where wealth may seem unattainable. But one of the things that I love that you left us with in our first segment together was, is there hope? And you said yes. And you said that because you're holistic, that's something that you really love, is walking people through the possibility of growing and maintaining wealth. So the things that we're talking about today as relates to tax preparation is so important for those of you listening that are still maybe trying to save money doing your own taxes. It really is worth it to go to a professional. It's worth it to go to a professional certified financial planner and have them look at your financial picture and give you a path forward. So it doesn't matter if you're not making a lot of money today. It doesn't mean that you can't in the future, but it's really all about taking that first leap of faith and going towards planning. But along those lines, my question is, why should we focus on wealth if we are those lay people, if you will, that lower class, the middle class, upper middle class, with all of the ramifications of these tax changes? Should we still be focused on wealth building? Should we still focus on trying to develop a financial plan? Is there a way out? Is there hope in that regard? Definitely,
you should be doing that, because one of the things that's kind of unchanged in both of the plans is that if you have a capital gain, you invest, it's still taxed at 15% in both of these plans, both these proposals. So if you have gains in the market, if you're able to get there, you're still being taxed at 15%, and that's better than all those other rates. So that's still a great vehicle to go through and go forward. Going through and doing that. The other thing I throw out there is 529 plans. If you can contribute to those, looks like the law is going to make some changes to those to maybe allow you to do some things even with schools, maybe even charter schools and other things earlier than what it was before. We have to kind of look and see what all the details are going to be there. But 529 plans is definitely something they're pushing and trying to move forward with.
And when you say a 529 plan, what is that?
A 529 is like right now it's a college saving plan. Someone says your North Carolina college saving plan, contribute to a 529. Most states have one. You don't have to contribute to the one in North Carolina. You can contribute to other states. Plan is a great way for uncles, grandparents to be able to contribute to what was college funding before, but they look like they're going to expand that to allow people to pay for, private school and maybe even charter schools with those funds that are in a 529 plan. Right now, they're really just for college savings.
All right, so you mentioned S corps and C corps. Now, what about the LLCs?
Well, LLCs when you're an LLC, it has a lot of flexibility. It's just a protection. The LLC says, hey, this is the type of entity, whether you're versus like a trust. Now, an LLC, for tax filing purposes, you can say, hey, I'm going to do an LLC, I'm going to file as a sole proprietor. I'm an LLC, I'm going to file as a S corp. I'm an LLC, I'm going to file as a full C corp. So LLC just is kind of the nomenclature for client, hey, here's the type of protection, this is the type of entity I am. But it doesn't tell you how you're going to file your taxes. When you file your tax return the first time, you can make an election to say, hey, I'm an LLC, I'm going to file as one of those three.
Do you have to stay at the one that you select, or can you change year to year?
You can change year to year. The big thing about sole proprietorship says, hey, I'm an LLC, or even as a regular sole proprietorship, you're taxed as an individual at the individual rate. As an S corp, those earnings really kind of pass through to the individual, and then again are taxed at an individual rate. If you go and now transfer over to be a C corp, now that's taxed differently, and there's some rules that you have to go through to follow to make that transition to be from S corp to C corp, or from C corp to S corp when you move through those, because you might have things like inventory and other things that may have been taxed differently. So there's a transition process you have to go through.
Man, taxes, blowing up my mind.
But I thank God for people like you. I thank God for you, Isaac, coming on, because you simplify it. I feel, and I don't know what other people think that are listening, but I think that you make it so easy to understand, but also I believe that you make wealth attainable. And I just want to thank you for that, because I feel like you do reflect hope for many people that want to build wealth, and people that already have wealth, because just because you have wealth doesn't mean you know what to do with it. And that's something I always, pray, God, help us to be good stewards of great wealth. And so I think that's important for those of you that are listening that are wealthy, that have that money that you don't know what to do with it. It's so important that you get a professional, you get with a professional. There's still people that hide their money in the bed at the house. I mean, you wouldn't believe it in 2017, but it's true. People keep their money on them. So it's just important, I think, that we begin to think about wealth building capacity and working with safe places such as Stalwart Financial Planning or other businesses, and finding those places where we can really invest in, and just being aware. So today really was about an awareness factor, but I want to see, is there anybody that we need to address or respond to?
Well, no, I have something else that I want to ask you, being that you're talking about being aware. What's your take on Bitcoin?
I was going to say, man, I got by, no question on Bitcoin.
We were so close. I'm sorry, I should have been quiet.
This is my personal present. I don't own any Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, I think the cryptocurrency, the whole cryptocurrency is a great concept, and the whole blockchain idea of the cryptocurrency is fantastic, and I like that. But I think the Bitcoin as a investment right now may really look like a bubble. And for an investor, professional investors, usually we always say is, when every mom and pop and everything start asking you about a particular investment or a particular stock, that's the time to run, because now everybody's coming in, and that's what creates the bubble. But we've thought that for a while, and it keeps going. So I said, some people who want to go out there and want to try it, don't put the life savings in. Go in, put the investment in. It's been moving very rapidly, and you could go in. Let's say you go in and you put 1,000 in, and then you go through, and after you made 1,000, take your original 1,000 out, and then just let the rest of it ride. And then if it is great and spectacular, it's the greatest thing ever, you win, and you don't have anything to lose.
But what do you mean when you say a bubble? Meaning that bubbles eventually can be popped, or
Exactly.
so it's volatile, that type of thing? Like, what do you mean when you say that?
When we say a bubble, when we talked about what the stock market was previously back in 2007, 2008, the housing market, everybody was coming in and saying, man, I can flip a house, I can do this, and they were buying, and they created that bubble because everybody thought they could flip the house, and they didn't need any expertise, just buy the house and do it. And it worked out maybe for a couple, and then it stopped. That's typically a bubble, where things start really going up, everybody's rapid, everybody's making money, you don't have to make a decision. Always think about the .com, the internet bubble. It was going up, and it didn't matter. You just had you just said internet. And I worked for IBM back then, and I remember Luke Gerstner, who was the CEO, he says, IBM's the biggest internet company out there. The stock went up 10 points in one day, the day he made that announcement. It's like, we didn't do anything different, but it just made that big
perception,
perception that it was now an internet company. And so that's where people just kind of jumping, moving, and things like that. So Bitcoin, I think cryptocurrency, a lot of people are working on, there's a lot of other cryptocurrencies out there other than just Bitcoin, and the governments are trying to do that. You know, China right now with Bitcoin, they've tried to outlaw it. You hear the Russia's trying to outlaw it, and maybe other current people come in and do it. And the other thing I think about, you know, with the whole Bitcoin piece is if you buy it, what are you going to do with it? Just hold on to it, or are you going to go out and buy some pizza?
Right.
You know, you're probably going to hold on to it. You're probably going to hold on to it. So then it doesn't really become a currency if you're just hanging on to it.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So Dalton has a question. What is a good financial strategy for a college undergrad or new grad?
A new grad, when they come out, I always tell them, hey, the biggest thing right now is to go through, you know, you got your student loans, start paying those, but start investing, get into whatever company you're in, starting a 401k, start contributing to your IRA, because you have time. Start investing, because time is the other lever that you have in investing. The longer you have, your greatest opportunity. So start early. You know, I'm a little guy that comes from Wade, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was one of, if I had to go back and think about my life, that's the biggest thing, biggest advantage I had was I started early.
You said Wade?
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade has his
Mama
own
did
city?
a good job.
Dwayne Wade
No.
has a town?
He can't. Wade made him. No.
That's right. Wade has its own town. We got our own caution
You
light.
have your own post office.
We got our own caution light, too. We got
And
our-
zip code.
That's right.
That's it. Represent Wade.
Quickly defended that. And we got our own parking
Wade
lot,
is
too.
a bomb. No.
That's right.
Okay.
A lot of good things come out
Yeah,
of Wade.
yeah, great thing. Wade, Godwin, Falcon,
Yeah,
all those
that's
folks
it.
over there on the other side of the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate them.
Yeah. Eastover. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Michael Stewart says, why do people whose office seems to be free Wi-Fi, Starbucks, always talking about Bitcoin?
Why?
Hey, Michael, love you.
Well, it's
family
part,
right
it's,
there,
it's,
right?
part, it's all that speculation. That's when you say, hey, everybody on the street is out there talking about it. Now that's part of where you know, a lot of times when investors say, well, that creates a bubble, because everybody thinks they can do it and can make money with it. And for a while that may be true. And a lot of people go back and always kind of look at the great tulip bubble. And the tulip bubble, a lot of people probably out there would, you know, back it was in Amsterdam, I guess people were investing in tulip bulbs, and then before that was the biggest bubble in history. Bitcoin is up there, right there with that
Well,
rank.
how do you? This might sound really stupid because I don't get it. How do you actually spend a Bitcoin? Is it like Apple money? Is it like the money on Facebook? So, say you do go to buy a pizza, what does that look like reflected in an everyday transaction? Does that make sense?
Yeah, a Bitcoin transaction is just like a regular money. Someone goes through, and you have to have a vendor who will accept Bitcoin.
Okay.
And so the history with Bitcoin was that it was kind of a dark web way of doing transactions,
Right.
where you didn't have the real cash. But if you want to go to Target, I think now it's Subway, except Bitcoin. You have a Bitcoin wallet. You go through and there's a price, and you go through and say, I want to buy that, and whatever the exchange rate is for Bitcoin right now, it goes through and verifies, hey, you have that much in your wallet. I'm going to take this much out, and I'll take a fraction of a Bitcoin out and do that.
So it's
Sounds
almost
like
an
Oliver
electronic.
Twist.
So it's almost like an electronic transaction.
Oh, exactly.
But just know there is a seedy side to Bitcoin. Have you seen that movie on Netflix? That's about like the whole gentleman that created the Bitcoin and how there was the dark web and how people were using it to finance human trafficking and some other things. And so he ended up, you know, being put in jail. But then now the Bitcoin is blowing up again. And now he's not getting the benefit of having been sort of the supposed founder. Have you heard? I don't know the name of the movie.
I haven't heard that, but
Yeah.
I think I know the guy that I was thinking the Bitcoin, they really didn't know who did it. He you know, just like most people who are out there on the internet, they have a kind
He
of
never said he did or didn't. It was just supposed that he was.
Yeah. So he went there, and I know, you know, early on you could go out and you could mine Bitcoin. So the whole transaction going through this all saying, hey, does this person have a legitimate Bitcoin in this amount? You could go out and mine, but that takes a lot of computer power, and so now those are kind of dedicated centers that, you know, not an individual can get in there and mine that transaction. Because one of the great things with the cryptocurrency we talked about earlier just slightly is the blockchain. And the blockchain is kind of a database of here's the transaction, here's all the Bitcoins, and it's just that one big problem. So it's a big math problem to go through
Man,
and solve.
this all sounds like Mr. Robot.
Man,
Isn't that crazy? And then the U.S., of course, will have an issue because it has to be able to be tracked so they can be taxed. Correct?
Right.
So that's really
Right.
the issue with it, is the whole underground aspect is what's causing it
but
to
but
be
we talked
wrong.
about, you know,
Yeah.
this 1040. It's you know, income,
As long as you
revenue
claim it.
from all sources,
Right.
even Bitcoin and everything else.
Just know you
have
can
it.
end up with a file of the FBI.
Wow.
Just kidding.
All of a
Reggie's
twist,
like, oh
like,
God, I got to get out of this
Sir,
studio.
may I have another Bitcoin?
But radio. Reggie, is there anything you want to leave us with just as we wrap up the conversations about 2017, what we should be thinking about, and then what we need to be informed about going forward for 2018? Is there maybe 1 to 3 points or things that you really want people to walk away with today?
The big thing to walk away with is, you know, tax planning is always kind of important, because no matter where, you know, if you're here in the United States and you're making money, you're going to have to file an income tax return. So a lot of times you think, hey, it's not that important, but you know, these laws and everything that changes really do impact us, and being able to understand them, how they do it, and how they reflect our life is the big important thing.
Ask Wesley Snipes.
You took that right out of my pop-up bubble. But the
I'm
other
just
piece I
saying.
just want to share with people, and I'm telling you from a personal standpoint, that it's scary. You know, you think about people that have not paid taxes in years, even now, individuals that are watching the show, or you haven't paid your business taxes. I really do encourage you to reach out to a bona fide CPA, a CFP, and get assistance. It's very scary when you're dealing with taxes, but just Dalton and I, not putting all of our business out there, but being on the side of not filing because not knowing and being afraid. Isaac was able to help us fix that whole ball of wax, and our accountant was able to help us to, you know, unravel that. So a lot of times people think about the money they don't have and they can't afford the help, but you can't afford to not get help. So I just really, that's what I want to leave people with, is please start to really look at your finances, move beyond the fear, and get help, and just know that there is help available, and it is affordable. It's not unattainable.
Yeah. It doesn't take a fortune to make one.
It doesn't. Oh, I love it. Say it again.
It doesn't take a fortune to make one.
We're going to put that on a shirt.
So how can people find you?
They can find me at stalwartplanning.com, or they can call me at 910-867-8464.
Perfect.
Reggie, put that on a shirt, man.
It doesn't take a fortune to make one.
You can
I
put that
love
on
it.
Bitcoin, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can use some
Make some
Bitcoin.
coins with it.
Well, you guys do that. Let us know how it turns out. So when we come in and you're on the dark web, you're not even in the studio anymore. We know it.
Oh, yeah. And
We're
by the way,
Facebook
ladies and
nowadays.
gentlemen, make sure you go ahead and you share this video as well, too, man. A lot of great information was given out this afternoon, man. That's what we always attempt to do during In Your Face and In Your Ears, to bless you with the conversations that we have, man. It's always a pleasure having you on, Reg.
Thanks,
Isaac.
I appreciate it.
My man.
All of them. All of y'all. All of y'all.
All of us. All of
Yes,
us.
indeed. Look at that. Jasmine finally did her job. She put up one
Bless
post.
your
Thank you,
little sweet
Jasmine.
self.
Hallelujah. There's a
Sweet.
kudo ding. I
Yeah.
rescind that ding from earlier.
Thank you.
You're welcome. About time you did your job. Paul, I don't know about you.
He's already standing up, getting ready to leave.
Paul's like, man, I got to go.
No,
I gotta go to work. I'm just kidding. Bye.
I'm off today.
No, but great information today, man.
Amen. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful that you came today, and I'm thankful for everyone that will hear, and not only hear, but hear and act, and hear and move. So I'm Dr. Patrice Carter. This has been In Your Face and In Your Ear. We're here every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we invite you to come and join us. I think my guest next week is Raquel Reed, who is a motivational speaker and a life coach, and so she's an author. Okay, no, that's not her. She's coming up the following week. So next week
Sherelle.
is Cheryl Latortu, yes, who is an amazing fashion stylist. So she'll be with us in the studio. Thank God for Ray keeping me straight.
You're welcome.
But if you want to connect with me or find me, you can reach me at www.drpatricecarter.com. Take care.
And also, Michael Chasen says, hey, Doc, and everybody.
Hey there.
Hey, Mac.
And thank you to everyone that listened today. Thank you for everyone that joined the conversation.
I guess today's his birthday. That's why he's trying to shout you
Oh,
out.
happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, I'm not talking to
Okay.
him.
Oh, okay. Well, happy
Yeah,
birthday
trying
to
to get
you.
a reference. I'm not referring him for anything.
Oh my God.
Anyways, yes, I called them out on the loud.
Okay.
Right around the corner, we'll celebrate birthdays. I have 5% of battery life left, so hopefully we'll make it through this. Stick around.
Take care.
More of the Ray Thomas Variety Show is coming up on BroncoIRadio.com.
BroncoIRadio.com, where every second of the day an artist is live. Turn on iRep for classic back in the day hip hop. Pop, pop, pop. R&B. Classics as well as the newest and hottest independent artists. We're representing for you. Tune in weeknights from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. to iRep. Only on BroncoIRadio.com. We're proud to be.
Greetings, I am Chantel Gaines, an energy science practitioner with Intense Movement, and we partnered with Prima Elements in downtown Fayetteville. On Monday and Wednesdays, we are offering 2 yoga classes in the morning, and on Wednesday evening, we're offering a Wind It Down Wednesday class for women only. On Thursdays, we have a bi-weekly dance and drum class with Neil Ray, where drummers can drop in. For more information, call 910-483-8406 or go to our website at www.intensemovement.net.
BroncoIRadio.com is getting real, raw, and relevant with Dr. Patrice Carter. She's in your face and in your ear.
This is Dr. Patrice Carter. Will the real you please stand up? Do you need to get your life and look good doing it? Do you need to gather yourself like some roses, as my friend Shamar says? My sister, friend, and expert, Sherelle Latortu, creative design stylist, strategist, and lifestyle brand consultant, can help. Join us as we discuss how you can live, work, style, and speak your brand. Choose your best life now. Get more information by logging on to www.drpatricecarter.com.
This has been In Your Face and In Your Ear with Dr. Patrice Carter. Real, raw, and relevant. A public service of BroncoIRadio.com. Student radio from Fayetteville State University. We're proud to be.
The Bottom Line on BroncoIRadio.com.
Where every second of the day, an artist is live.
Tune into The Bottom Line with Brian Barber
and Kiana Smith.
On Monday, it's Motivation Monday, where we talk positive topics to get your week started off right.
What's going on Wednesdays? We talk the latest news in politics, entertainment, and the community.
And now on Fridays, it's Faith State Friday. Faith State Friday, where we talk all this news going on here at Fayetteville State and in the city of Fayetteville.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 3 to 4 p.m.
That's The Bottom Line because we said so.
Only on BroncoIRadio.com.
Now, back to the Ray Thomas Variety Show.
And it's that time of the afternoon where we celebrate the things that we call birthdays, because we say birthdays are the first days. That's a ding for you, Paul.
That's a new one for me.
Whatever, man. It's not new.
I never said it.
Okay, well,
if
you're going to come in here, you're going to do your responsibility, man.
I'm going to change my name.
Don't revert back to the old Paul. I like the new Paul. It's like the new Paul. It's like a book in the Bible. The book of Paul. The new Paul.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So birthdays for this day, which happens to be the 4th of December. Jasmine?
Okay. So to start off with, today Jay-Z turns 48.
Jigga man.
Tyra Banks turns 44.
Tyra Banks? Miss Schmize herself?
Yeah, she played on my favorite movie, Life Size.
Okay.
Orlando Brown turns 30. Angel Rice is 19. And Jeffrey Bridges is 68. Also today...
Jeff Bridges, the actor?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Also today is my cousin's birthday, Dwayne Imes. And...
Oh, the Imes family again.
Yes.
They spell it I-J-A-M-E-S. I-James.
We're special.
The Imes family. The J is silent. It's like Django.
And, of course, Michael Chasen, former music director of Bronco Radio.
Yep. Happy birthday, boy.
Happy birthday, Mac.
Happy birthday, Mike.
Yes, indeed. Pastor Paul?
Yeah, I don't have any.
No birthdays, huh?
No.
All right, but you celebrated yours last month, right?
Yeah, my birthday was on the 20th.
Had a great time, huh?
Yeah.
You and your wife on the same day, man. That's scary.
That's dope.
No, that's dope. You say that's scary to me.
How's that scary?
Because it is.
Yeah. Because you have the same personality, kind of bouncing back and forth on both extremes.
Oh, Lord.
So, yeah. But
the allure.
That would be so fun. I wish that could be possible.
Yeah. Notice Paul didn't save us any birthday cake or anything.
No.
Didn't have none.
Well, I mean, you could have faked it and brought us something. Said, hey, here's some
cake.
Cupcake. Yeah, exactly. Like a Hostess cupcake or something, man.
I got you next year.
Okay, next year? Oh, wow. It depends the way my